I showed you the maps that were here on Earth before 1958, before the governments took them out, and I'm going to show you the Encyclopedia Britannicas in the public libraries before 1958. Here's Volume 2. Now, this is actually the Encyclopedia America, but the Encyclopedia Britannica is the same thing as Encyclopedia America. It's just the Britain version, so I call it the Britannica. Anyways, this is Volume 2 out of the alphabet A. We're going to flip to the Antarctica, and this is from 1958, as you can see. Now, we're going to flip to the Antarctica and see what the Encyclopedia Britannica from 1958, before the Antarctic Treaty, says is there. Now, you won't find this in the new encyclopedias because the government's discontinued them. But what I want you to notice right here is, notice how it says the flights proved inland areas to be featureless in character, with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Take a really, really close look at that. Now I'm going to zoom it in for you. When they returned to New Zealand, these flights proved the inland areas to be featureless in character, with a dome 13,000 feet high at about latitude 80 degrees south, longitude 90 degrees east. Now, if this doesn't make sense to you, let me show you with an image on Google Earth's heliocentric model. And now here we are at 80 degrees latitude and 90 degrees longitude. And as you can see, we're about a third over the supposed continent of Antarctica. And there, it's supposed to be, the dome is supposed to be 13,000 foot high. Makes no sense, right? Okay, now on this geocentric model, all of us truthers, flat earthers, know that the supposed Antarctica is nothing more than the ice wall. So if we go out here about a third over the ice wall, just like you've seen on the heliocentric image, about a third over Antarctica, then this is where the dome comes down to meet the ice, somewhere hundreds of miles off through the ice desert there, but somewhere right in here around 80 degrees latitude and 90 degrees longitude, this dome is about 13,000 foot above this ice wall. Now, if you go back out into the center of the Earth, or up the North Pole, and try to go up to the firmament with a little bit of calculation, it's going to show that it's about 385,500 feet away. It's really, really simple. And isn't it awful coincidental that the Antarctic Treaty of 1958 bans anyone from going to Antarctica? And guess where that ban starts at? At the 80th parallel south. And as you can read here, Antarctica as a continent is located in the southern hemisphere. It is the 5th largest continent and has an area of about 14 million square kilometers. The continent is almost completely covered by ice and is very difficult to access. There are only a few research stations that are located on the continent. People can only visit Antarctica if they have permission from the authorities. Now, if you're not familiar with any of this at all, and you're just now new to all this, you can say, well, this guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But what you got to ask yourself is, why do all the maps before 1958 show a flat Earth with the ice wall around it and a firmament, a dome? And not to mention the fact that all ancient cultures depicted a flat Earth with a dome over it, a firmament over it, for thousands of years. And let's not forget that the Holy Bible depicts a flat Earth with ice walls and a firmament being a dome. And why does the encyclopedia tell you that there's a dome there, and it gives you the exact height at a certain latitude and longitude? Well, the reason is because in 1958, that's when all governments and all nations of the world signed the UN treaty to ban all civilians from going to the Antarctica. And NASA came in and erased everything, just like they're erasing everything today. So again, ask yourself, if all this existed before 1958, Why doesn't it exist now? How come it all of a sudden was erased and just disappeared out of your history books, out of your encyclopedias, out of your libraries? Wake up, people. Wake up.
Alright, y'all. The universe makes no mistakes. After I read this comment, guess what I saw? So naturally, this sign from the universe told me that I need to dig deeper. So our good old trusted friend Google told me that NASA was founded by Dwight D. Eisenhower. I'm not buying it. And by the way, you should do all your research on DuckDuckGo, not Google. So when I type in who is the real creator of NASA, Wernher von Braun pops up. The same name that I saw while walking today. So upon further research, I discovered that von Braun was cool with Walt Disney. They actually worked together on several projects. And Walt Disney has his own rabbit hole of conspiracy theories, okay? A bam. But what really stood out to me was that on Wernher von Braun's gravestone, he had the Bible verse Psalms 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth his handiwork. I'm telling you, we're in a dome right there, and there's so many other domes. And Walt Disney knows it too. They're just like throwing it in our faces, y'all. So at this point, we can agree that NASA was founded on BS. Space isn't real. This is an actual photo from space on the NASA website. Where are the stars? You can't tell me this doesn't look fake. Like, I could have made this in Photoshop, honestly. So the explanation of why there is no stars in the pictures is that the astronauts had to bump the exposure way down to be able to capture the lunar surface or their spacesuits. So being the detective that I am, I decided to try it out. And I took a picture of me with stars in the background and tried to, bump the exposure and contrast and all that down to see if the stars would disappear. And I didn't get nothing but like this. So I can still see the stars. And a lot of you might be curious, why do I care so much, about this? Why do I want to expose NASA so much and expose that space isn't real? I'll tell you why. My biological father actually worked for NASA. You can search this up yourself. I'm really intrigued and inclined to learn more about what my dad really was helping before he died. And this is just another weird observation. 44.9% of NASA's budget is spent on human spaceflight. Who the fuck are they sending up to space? I haven't seen anyone sent to space in years. It says NASA spends its money on Earth, not in space. What? It's fake. Wake up, people, and stay safe.
We look at their rockets. This is how they claim they get into outer space, is these rockets. Their rockets never go straight up. Every single rocket launch from a government space agency, you'll notice, follows a parabolic curve. It goes up, it reaches a peak, but what they do is as the rocket starts coming back down, they make sure that it goes down over the ocean, out of the way of any curious observers. Anyone can see it coming back down to Earth, asks, hey, how come the rocket's not going up anymore? Well, it's going around the curvature of the Earth, is what they tell us. So every single rocket, the reason that it follows a parabolic curve, they say, is because it's going around the curvature of the Earth. The real reason is they can't get up any higher than that.
Sorry to tell you, the only thing that's been to space is your imagination.
They tell us that the Earth is a sphere. They show us pictures of a sphere, of a circle. It's a perfect circle. And then they come out and they say, well, it's actually an oblate spheroid. Oh, what's that? Well, it's a sphere that's flattened at both poles, so it's more of an oval shape. It actually bulges out south of the equator, as well as being flattened at the poles. So it's more pear-shaped.
So it's not actually a sphere. It's oblate. And officially it's an oblate spheroid. That's what we call it. But not only that, it's slightly wider below the equator than above the equator.
A little chubbier.
A little chubbier.
Yeah.
Chubby's a good word. It's like pear-shaped.
So now it's pear-shaped. So why are all of these official NASA photos and videos showing perfect spheres when it's actually an oblate spheroid or a pear-shaped spheroid? They can't get their story straight. The reason they keep changing it is that to fit the model, they have to change the shape of the Earth. South of the equator is larger than north of the equator because lines of longitude that just extend outwards. They don't contract back. So they concede that in their pear model. They say, well, the side bulges out south of the equator. It's bigger south of the equator. Yeah, it is, because it's flat. But instead of admitting that, they just, make tweaks to their model as time goes on. They say that the ball Earth tilts back 23.5 degrees. That's another tweak they made because we can see Polaris, which is right over the North Pole, from 23.5 degrees south latitude. shouldn't be able to see that on a ball. So they just tilt the Earth back, and then okay, now you can see it. And so they come up with explanations in reverse like this, damage control, reverse engineered explanations.